Hello, you featherless bipeds. Well, I'm going to dive straight into this. We're going to have a very relaxing little while now as we dive in, take a deep dive, a deep oceanic dive into the world of Jacob Collier and Aurora. And this little thing they did for Greenpeace. So, the first thing to understand is why are they doing this video, apart from the fact two great musicians are collaborating with each other. I mean, Jacob Collier is like the musical genius of our time, and Aurora is magic, is made of magic. And I've wanted these two to get together and do something for ages. So yeah, I was quite excited when I saw this. It's not a first time reaction. I don't do those. I like to think about these things for a little while and see if I can think of some interesting things to say. So we're going to start with the background to the video, which is they're doing it for Greenpeace, an organisation which helps to protect the environment, particularly the oceans, and this is all about the oceans and how the oceans are dying. We'll have Jacob have the first word here from an Instagram post he did about the making of this video. Watch this.
I think the ocean is an enormous pool of inspiration, no pun intended for me. Image, a colossal metaphor, it's like the sort of heart of the earth, you could say. I mean, in a physical sense and also in a poetic sense. And so, yeah, I think when I heard about this opportunity and when I began to learn more about what exactly the ocean does as part of this enormous ecosystem to keep us all alive and healthy and the planet going, essentially. I think the more I learn about it, the more moved I become. And I didn't hesitate to get on board and use whatever voice I have to try and help promote its protection. You hear about the Arctic and you hear about the ice melting and the climate changing, but to see it with your own eyes, it's profound and deeply moving. And so I would just say we need to act right now. Stop dragging our heels and stop waiting and go and do what's necessary. And if we work together, we can. We must protect 30% of the world's oceans by 2030. Join me and sign the petition.
So that's Jacob's explanation of his place in this little video. Aurora did something similar. This is in Norwegian.
Noe som vi vet som mennesker er at alt vi tukler med, alt vi tuller med, alt vi tar på, det tar vi for mye av, og det tar vi for hardt på. Så vi legger alltid bak oss spor som er ganske stygge. Og det er veldig få ting på jorden som er urørt av menneskeheten. Og det er veldig viktig at de områdene forblir hellige. Det er den eneste måten jorden kommer til å klare seg fremover. Hei, jeg heter Aurora Aksnes, og jeg er her med Greenpeace fordi at jeg bryr meg om helsen til havet vårt, og jeg er veldig sterkt imot deep sea mining. Deep sea mining, det er det motsatte av et løfte om en fremtid. Jeg synes vi burde vise at vi er bedre enn det som mennesker. Og jeg vil gjerne si til vår statsminister, Jonas Gahr Støre, at vi må bry oss mer om fremtiden vår. Og hvis du er enig med meg, så må du gjøre to ting. Fordi vi har ikke god tid, så du må gjøre det fort. Du må sende brev til regjeringen, og så må du skrive under underskriftskampanjen. Fordi uten havet vårt så har vi ingenting igjen.
And that's Aurora's take. So I'm going to put links below to the Greenpeace petitions and sign them, please sign them. Because you think the oceans are over there, that this is not going to affect you. If you think that, you're completely wrong. You know, all life is dependent on the oceans. Because the oceans are full of, just to give you an example, the oceans are full of plankton. And plankton are little creatures that help absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and help produce a huge amount of the world's oxygen, the very oxygen that you breathe. Vast amounts of it are produced by the sea. If the plankton dies, we're fucked. And that's all there is to it. So look, it may seem like, oh, what's the point? What's the point? It's all too late. It's never too late. And as the philosopher Edmund Burke said, no one made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. So please, just add a signature. It'll take 2 minutes of your time. I tilfelle det noen norske mennesker som ser på dette, jeg vil ta med en linke til Greenpeace Norge nedenfor. Jeg fortsatt lærer norsk. Jeg elsker det. Min kone og jeg vil flytte dit en dag. So now you have the environmental background, the purpose behind this video. But before we dive into it, you need to take a minute to consider the logistics of what they've done here. They've filmed in Svalbard. Svalbard, you think the north of Norway is a long way north. Svalbard is way north of that. They're getting up close to the North Pole here. They're way up there. Because that is somewhere where you can see the glaciers melting. You can see this vast change that has been wrought by humans and their filthy habits. And why is that difficult? Well, they're going to do it outdoors on a pontoon with an acoustic piano. Keeping an acoustic piano in tune in sub-zero temperatures is a fucking nightmare. Why? Because piano strings are made of metal, and metal contracts and expands according to the temperature of the room. Any guitarist will tell you this. You know, if you bring a guitar in from the tour van and the tour van is freezing onto the stage where all the hot lights are, the guitar goes out of tune, just like that. So they had to take a piano tuner with them, and Jacob has credited him in the credits for the song, as well he should, because that guy had a job. And you can hear him at the beginning of this. They did this like a little intro video, this little taster video to get people excited about what was coming on Instagram. But right at the beginning of it, you can hear the piano tuner doing his thing. Listen. That's now Jacob playing. And there's the little pontoon they're going to do it on. And keeping the piano in tune is not their only problem here. Jacob has got to play the piano in sub-zero temperatures, which means his hands are freezing. I will let him tell you about that.
Were amongst the coldest they've ever been in my entire life. Freezing cold. That in a sense changed the way I was playing, because if I have warm hands like I do right now, I can play quite fast passages quite easily, but on the pontoon, as it were, my hands were unable to. So I almost had to be more choiceful in being quite deliberate, because I couldn't move my hands fast enough to be clever. And that was nice. It felt like a really kind of like a really helpful, grounding simplification of a concept, but you know, being on the surface of this enormity of depth and surrounded by this enormity of just formations of ice and rock and oceans is really a very, very profound feeling. And also realizing, I think that both of us did, that the sound is transmitting downwards through the pontoon into the water. Like what an audience, you know, the ocean and its creatures. Singing in the cold is always an adventure. I think there's something that happened to both of our voices, where your voice almost gets it gets a little bit stiffer or more closed, and it has you could almost say like a natural tremor, like because you're so cold, which actually can be quite emotional. And so both of us kind of enjoyed the process of getting cold to a point, and singing with each other. But also to sing with Aurora is such an amazing treat because she's such an open spirit, such an open musician, and her ears are kind of everywhere. And we kind of met in this orbit of improvising, because a lot of the performance was very improvised. It was planned structurally, but then we found a form within it that felt right to us. Each take separate from the other. So it's always nice to sing alone, but it's something really transformative and special about connecting with somebody else who's singing and meeting them in that place. And so yeah, it felt like just a very singular experience for me.
So, now you have plenty of background. Let's actually start the video. I'm going to be stopping loads. There's so much to be said. But, you can go to the actual original video and watch the whole thing through without the annoyance of me there. Okay? So let's start and see what happens. Jacob is playing icicles, isn't he? That is the sound of ice. It's the sound of icicles. That's the only way I can describe it. Remember, he's improvising most of this. They've got a structure, they've got an idea of where they're going to go, but he's improvising. Hear it again.
I'm on a rock somewhere. It's the only one I know, and I know it well.
So this is Jacob's song, A Rock Somewhere. And this is a song about the environment, which of course is why it's perfect for this video. Jacob has a very unusual voice. It has a lovely yawn to it. He's a baritone, I think. So a baritone is one of the lower male ranges. The interesting thing about baritone voices is they have a very rich low end, but they can usually sing really, really high as well. And Jacob doesn't go incredibly high on this, but he can really hit high notes. It's not on Dimash level, but nobody is. But and then you've got male singers who are tenors. That's the higher male range. They're very, very good in that middle area, but they tend not to be able to go as high or as low. So there is an advantage to being a baritone. And it opens up this whole big range for you. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Something about the way the baritones have longer vocal cords, and when they're longer it gives you room to partition them off into smaller sections which can handle the high notes, whereas when you've got shorter vocal cords of a tenor, it's harder to partition them. You've just got really one set of chords. Let's carry on.
Somehow I know you're there, and I'm waiting on the world. I'm ringing the old church bell, people come and go, and they go so well.
One of the things I want you to notice is that they've kept the sound of the lapping water and everything. They've brought the environment itself into the soundtrack. And the sound quality of the recording is absolutely amazing. This is definitely live. The whole thing is live. Not all the filming is live. So you'll see there are shots like this where they've got a cameraman on the pontoon with them. But you'll also see distant shots where it's just either just Jacob on the pontoon or Jacob and Aurora, but no camera person. So these bits are all filmed separately.
They're counting the coins back there. It's the only thing they know. And even when I'm wide awake, I know that you've been having other dreams for sure.
I just want to remind you that Jacob pointed out at the beginning that he can't play anything clever here because his hands are too cold. This is Jacob's idea of not being able to play anything clever, which is already far in advance of any piano player I've ever met.
Nothing's ever gonna change at all. I'll be waiting on the world, only waiting on the world.
I'll be waiting on the world.
Aurora. Just let my goosebumps settle a little there. Aurora's voice is the sound of snow and ice, isn't it? I mean, you know, there's a reason why they wanted her to be the voice of the North Wind in the Frozen films. Her voice is the sound of snow and ice. And yet, the beautiful paradox is that it warms you. I feel so warm when she sings. I think that's a beautiful thing. Please also take a moment to appreciate the outfit. Aurora doesn't buy labels. She gets her clothes from charity shops and then cuts them up and rearranges them into these fucking brilliant outfits, often with the help of her sister Victoria. And this is just a particularly lovely one. I love this look she's got.
I'll be waiting on the world. I'll be waiting on the world.
I think she nearly fell in there. I honestly think she nearly fell in. I mean, this is a health and safety nightmare. Surely, they must have a big safety team there. There's probably somewhere there's a dinghy with a bunch of military types in wetsuits and stuff ready to dive in and save our precious Aurora. But yeah, this looked close to me. Like she nearly went in backwards. Like, it's such a terrible thought. Here. And so we'll pause there on Aurora's funny face. One thing I'd really love to know is how the two of them got on. See, I've wanted Aurora and Jacob Collier to work together for a very long time. And one of the reasons, apart from the fact they're both fucking so brilliant, is that I feel that they have an awful lot in common personality-wise. They're both very high energy, unusual, positive thinking characters. Aurora's neurodivergent. I suspect Jacob is too, but it's never been mentioned, so who knows. But if Aurora and Jacob were friends of mine and they didn't know each other, I can imagine myself saying to Jacob, you have to meet my friend Aurora. You two would get on like a house on fire. And I would say the same to Aurora about Jacob. So I wonder how they got on. And because, you know, sometimes when you meet somebody and you're a little bit too alike, and that can make you slightly annoy each other, and you don't get on. But I really hope they got on well, because I would love for them to do something in the studio together, for Aurora to go to Jacob's magic music room for a day or two, and the things they might come out with would be special. Now, one small hint that they got on quite well was that when Aurora played the Albert Hall recently, and I was there, and it was, I'll tell you what, I was lucky enough to see Prince live in the 80s at Wembley Stadium, and it was a complete life-changing gig, the most overwhelming musical experience of my life. It took 40 years for that performance to be matched, and it was matched by Aurora at the Albert Hall this year. It was utterly, unbelievably good. We laughed, we cried, and I did not sleep at all for 24 hours because I was in such a fucking buzz. Now what was I was saying that for a reason. Oh yeah, and shortly after that, this clip emerged. See, I wondered that Jacob might even join her on the stage to perhaps do this song, because the Albert Hall gig was just shortly after this video came out. And so I was looking out for him. But he wasn't there. Or actually, it turns out he was there. I don't know if he was there for the concert, but he was definitely there during the day, because this video emerged. And this gives you an impression that they actually did get on rather well. It's just a short clip. So that's just them hanging out in the dressing room at the Albert Hall. So, yeah, let's hope they got on really well and they're going to do a thing together in the studio. So let's continue with the video. But did you notice, just leading up to this, how beautifully their voices blend together when they both start belting really loud? Oh my God.
You cannot eat maniono.
So this is now The Seed. This is Aurora's song.
You cannot eat maniono. When the last tree has fallen and the rivers are poison, you cannot eat maniono. You cannot eat maniono.
I'm on a rock.
You cannot eat maniono.
On a rock.
When the last tree has fallen and the rivers are poison, you cannot eat maniono.
Get the voice.
going to make me cry, isn't it? When the two, that's what I'm talking about, when the two of them harmonise together. Oh my God, that is so intense. And then here, you're just about to see, now Aurora is singing the icicles. Isn't this the sound of icicles expressed in the human voice? It's not just the most fucking beautiful thing you've ever seen. Do you know what I love about that last bit? That last cry. It's the cry of the oceans. It is the desperate cry of life, coupled with the pictures of the abuse, the raping of the oceans by humans. And what they've done here, which I think is beautiful and poetic, is that they sang that last bit without any reverb. What is reverb? It's a big echoey sound that you put on vocals because it makes it sound nice. It's the sound you get when you're singing in a shower because a bathroom is echoey, or singing in a church because, again, it's echoey. So normally that would be put on. But here, they sing this extraordinary thing together, this little chord, this little harmony together. And then at the end, it stops dead. There is no echo, there is no continuation, it stops dead. It is the cry of the ocean, and it ends in death. And that is the perfect ending to this plea to save not just the oceans, but ourselves. For fuck's sake, we're all going to fucking die. I get a little bit worked up about this stuff, you know. Anyway, so that is Aurora and Jacob Collier doing their songs, A Rock Somewhere and The Seed. And you know, both those, there are studio versions of both those songs. A Rock Somewhere by Jacob Collier sounds a bit like this.
I'm on a rock somewhere. It's the only one I know, and I know it well. And somehow I know you're there, and I'm waiting on the world.
So check that out. It's a fascinating piece of music. But generally, when he does something, it is fascinating. It's full of incredible detail and complexity. Something to listen to multiple times. And of course, Aurora's song, The Seed. Fucking epic. Check it out. That's the original music video, but Aurora being Aurora, she has multiple versions of this. She does she always does many different versions of her songs. You'll get ones like this the full production, and you'll get another one she'll just sing it with a piano, and then she'll sing it with somebody playing guitar, and then she'll have a little 4-piece band playing it acoustically, or there's a video of her singing it in the forest with a male choir. So it's something she does all the time, and it's a fantastic thing that can be a huge inspiration to other musicians. Maybe I should do a whole video about how Aurora makes different versions of her songs. Anyway, so the last word goes to Jacob, who this is just a little thing he said about the whole experience and everything they did.
Oh boy, there were a few, but I think the one that sticks in my mind most was actually the night after we performed on the pontoon. We were probably about 13 or 14 of us were sitting around the dinner tables, and somebody handed me a guitar and I started to play, and we all sang. We sang many songs, probably sang about 10 songs or so. This was just all of us mucking in together, and it was a really beautiful moment. I'll never forget it. The captain of the ship came down, Emily, and he brought his cajon box drum with him, which was really great. So he was jamming away and I was strumming away and people were singing harmonies and stuff, but you know, this is a bunch of people who aren't inherently musicians, they're real people of the world. And I just felt like that reminded me of what music is for. You know, that's what music can do, is you've got all these people who speak so many different languages, have seen so many different parts of the world and through so many different perspectives, different ways of living, and that was a moment where we all just came together and just sang the night away, and it was magnificent.
Isn't he a sweetie? So yeah, that's Jacob and Aurora doing The Seed in a Rock Somewhere. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I said something, at least something vaguely interesting about that. In the meantime, sign the petitions for your own sake. And thank you for watching. See you again sometime soon. Bye-bye.
La